I've always found something special about the game of basketball. It's a game that requires more than just hours of practice, but patience and timing. In a way, building my testimony of the Book of Mormon was similar to my experience playing basketball. Growing up, I was never the fastest or the tallest, but I worked hard, day and night, rain or shine. If I wasn't home, I was on a court, somewhere. But eventually, as time passed, my progress slowed. My motivation just stopped. I wasn't practicing. I didn't make the teams I wanted to be on. I gave up. When I was younger, learning the gospel was no different. I tried to believe. I wanted to believe, and I did as much as I could to understand. I grew up in a household full of scriptures and teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I tried to get to church and to listen, but eventually that changed too. Going to church became more of an obligation rather than a choice. Over the years, it was just part of the routine. It was easy, something I didn't even have to think about. But I had no progress. I didn't feel it, like it seemed everyone else did. God was on Sundays and life was every other day. Then came my teenage years, when life got much harder and God only on Sundays just wasn't enough anymore. That's when I decided something had to change. I needed to know for myself if this was the kind of gospel I wanted to live for the rest of my life, or it would become just like basketball did, an old memory. I started with the little things like prayer and being a little kinder, and then I started to read it. The book, the singular book that would make or break my wavering and mini testimony. I had always known the promise of the Book of Mormon, that anyone who would read it with a sincere heart, with real intent, could pray to know if it were true, and would gain a real and living testimony of it. But I'd never done so. I took the effort I spent on basketball and put it towards reading the Book of Mormon. Over the course of the next year, I read every day, trying to get something, anything out of it. Some days I could feel it, and others I couldn't. Months of reading and pondering and understanding, and I eventually finished. This momentous occasion that I knew had occurred in the lives of those I was acquainted with was finally mine to experience. I closed the door to my bedroom and tried to empty everything that was going on in my teenage mind. I knelt down beside my bed and offered up the most sincere prayer I could have possibly mustered. Heavenly Father, is the Book of Mormon true? I waited. And I waited. I saw no pillar of light. I felt nothing. How could a loving God let my prayer go unanswered? Why didn't I get a miracle or a light or a glimmer of anything? I knew then that this must not be true. My heart went from disappointment and sadness to rage and hardness. If God wouldn't answer me, then he must not be there, or he must care so little about me it didn't even matter what I believed. My heart turned to stone. Just as I had been let down by the game of basketball, I was let down by God, a being who was supposed to be all-loving and all-powerful, but couldn't even answer my sincere question, I decided I'd give it all up the same way. For a time, I stopped participating in church. I stopped caring about God. There was no religion. There was no truth. Just life and then the end. I lived without hope, and I carried my anger and sadness with me wherever I went. I felt ashamed that others received their answers when I didn't. Life went on like this for a while. It was hard to know who I was anymore. If I wasn't a child of God or a basketball player, who was I? Even though I'd given up faith, I hid it from my family. My body went to church on Sunday, but my mind was nowhere near it. One day, we had an older member of our ward and stake presidency speak about the Book of Mormon. I figured I'd tune him out completely. Nothing he could say would make this book true. As he began speaking, he told the story of his conversion and a time when he had felt the Book of Mormon was true. He said that he had read it all the way through and prayed as Moroni suggests, but then he said that he felt nothing. But, he said, the Spirit spoke to my mind. You already know it's true. Immediately, I felt something I had never felt before. It wasn't a burning or a lightning bolt. It wasn't a pillar of light or a shockwave, but I felt it. My hardened and angry heart softened. My mind rested on the years of practice, the years of family home evening and prayer and loyalty to God. I too had already known it was true. I lived it. Joy filled my heart, and I read and continue to read it again and again. I knew it was true. God knew I knew it was true. I simply needed a reminder of what I had already known and what I had already done.